What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Stefan here. Hope you are having an amazing day, and it's about to get better because in today's video we're going to be building out this awesome custom tab bar using SwiftUI. Now, when I say custom, that means this is not going to use any of the native tab view components we get from SwiftUI. This is going to be a 100% custom implementation, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And we're also going to get some added custom functionality with this awesome pop-up menu that we have here. So you guys can see that looks really cool. And it gives you like an extra piece of cool functionality where you can just add a little bit of spice to your tab bar and give the user a little bit more functionality with this really cool pop-up menu. And you know, SwiftUI, the tab view that we get from them does have its limitations. So building your own custom tab view can have a lot of benefits for you there. And you guys can see that this functions just like a regular tab view or tab bar would. Every time I select an item, it changes the view and it highlights the selected item. So that's what we're going to be building today, guys. Get excited because it's going to be a lot of fun. And this is going to be something that you can drag and drop into any one of your custom applications or projects that you're working on right now. So get excited. Let's go ahead and get started with Xcode. Really quickly, guys, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. Also, make sure you check out my online courses available at stefancodes.com. The link is in the description to this video. If you want to learn how to build full-scale iOS applications from scratch, make sure you guys check out my courses online. They are built at a professional level and built to be able to handle large user bases. So if you guys want to learn how to do that, make sure you check out my courses online. And guys, really quickly, if you want to check out one more of what my life is like, check my Instagram out at stefan.dowless and give me a follow there. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and get started with Xcode. All right, guys, so I just have a blank Xcode project opened up in front of me. So let's go ahead and get started with the code now, right? So basically what I want to introduce in first is a VStack, right? So pretty much, guys, what we're going to be doing is creating a vertical stack and using spacers to then create this custom H stack down at the bottom, which is going to be our custom tab view. It's just a horizontal stack of items, but we want this stuff to be arranged or sort of contained within a VStack, so we could stack these things vertically, because as you see, we have our view here and then our tab bar below it. So let's go ahead and we could just command click on this text and say embed in VStack, and you guys will notice nothing will change. So add a spacer at the top, and you guys will notice that that moves this all the way down to the bottom. Whenever that, yep, and then add another spacer below that, and that will move it right back up to the center, okay? But this is what we want, even though it looks exactly the same, because now we're gonna start building out our tab bar below this second spacer, okay? So we're just gonna create this H stack. And guys, what I want you to do is let's just go ahead and grab this text and like maybe make it say like tab 1, and we could just copy and paste this a couple times, like 5 times. Say tab 2, tab 3, tab 4, so on and so forth. And you can sort of see that this is our tab bar sort of shaping up, right? But before we get into actually how to create like a view model for this and populate it with custom icons and stuff like that, we're gonna just configure this H stack with like a frame and the background and all that stuff before we continue on. So let's go ahead and write some code for this H stack. So we're going to give it a frame, and we're going to create a height for it, and it's going to be uiscreen.main.bounds.width, height divided by 8. Okay, so this is just going to help us account for different screen sizes, right? So it's always just going to take the height of the view and divide it by 8, and that will be the height of our tab bar. We're going to say .frame max width, and it's going to be .infinity. So that just means it's always going to span the entire width of the screen. .background. Okay, so this background is actually going to be a little bit more complicated, but for now we're just going to give it a color of .system gray 5. Right, so that's just like a standard tab bar color, guys. We are going to go over how to implement like a custom sort of blurred background here a little bit later on in the video. But for now, we're just going to have this like sort of light gray. That's pretty like I think that's like a standard tab bar background color, but we'll go over how to give it like a custom background color if you want in a little bit. Okay, so now let's actually go over how to create these tab icons, right? So let's just go ahead and delete these text items, and we are going to go ahead and create like an image icon that is a button, and we can link an action to it as well. So let's go ahead and create a button. Select action and label, hit enter on that. Here we can just say print, change, view. Okay, and the label is just gonna be an image. We're gonna say system name for now. Let's just say house, right? So that's our little image, dot resizable, dot aspect ratio, content mode is dot fill. Just delete that stuff. So yeah, guys, just give it an aspect ratio of content mode dot fill. We're gonna say dot frame, width and height of 20 by 20, and then delete the alignment guy. So that's gonna get, you know, our tab bar icon looking nice in terms of the size. And you guys can play around with the size as you see fit. You might want the buttons to be a little bigger, a little smaller. It's up to you. We're gonna say dot frame, max width, dot infinity, and we're going to say dot foreground color is dot white. Or here we could just say black actually. We're going to change it to white when we introduce this dark mode. Okay, so guys, now you could imagine that this would be a lot of unnecessary code if we were to just keep pasting that button in there and say like, you know, magnifying glass, right? So this is a lot of unnecessary copy and pasted code. It's the exact same code being reused over and over again. So when you have that, it should be an immediate flag or red flag to you that you should, or sorry, indication that you should create a subclass for this. So we're gonna actually go ahead and extract this out to a subview. So guys, just go ahead and delete all that stuff. And then you can command click on this button and say extract subview. And that will automatically extract that code into a subview, which is really nice. So here we're just going to call this, you know, tab icon, and replace this with tab icon. And then we could go here and just put that in there a couple times, like 5 times for 5 icons, right? So if I hit resume, now we're going to see, you know, my icons here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's go ahead and hit play, right? And if I tap on this item, we can see that it's actually a button, which is really cool. That's what we are gonna want for this tab view. We want each item to be a button because when we press it, we have to link that to an action, which is going to be presenting a new view. Okay, but you guys might be like, yo, how do I get custom icons in each one of these? All of them are just houses right now. So in our tab icon, what we could do is just pass in an image name. And then, you know, go here and replace that with image name. And then each one of these guys is going to ask us for an image name now. So this could say house, and then this one could say magnifying glass. And, you know, I'm just going to paste these here for now, just so we could, you know, see some different icons showing up. And then obviously you guys could just pass in whichever one of those, whichever image name you want. And if you guys are wondering where I get these image names from, you're going to want to download this app called SF Symbols, and it gives you access to, you know, a ton of different icons that we now get with that come standard with Xcode now. So we don't have to go and get these icons from a third party, which is very, very nice. So that's going to be, you know, now you guys can see that we have, you know, different icons showing up in our tab icon. So that's looking really good, guys. So we can see here that we have this ugly sort of space at the bottom of our screen. So guys, on your VStack, just go here and say .ignores safe area. and let's go ahead and hit resume, and that should solve that problem for us, right? So now our tab bar is all the way down at the bottom, and it's always going to ignore those safe areas. So now what I want us to do, guys, is actually create this custom menu icon here. So we're going to be replacing this like third icon here with this custom menu icon here. So let's go ahead and create another struct for that. Let me just move this stuff above the previews. Ideally, guys, you would want to create separate files for this and have some sort of folder structure going on. I'm just not doing that because this is I want to keep this tutorial, quick and running smoothly without having to create a bunch of files. So let's say struct tab menu icon, or tab menu button. We could say icon, doesn't matter. And it's going to be a view, and we're going to say var body some view. Okay. So let's look at what we need to do to create this. So we're going to create a ZStack for this, right? Because essentially, guys, it's just going to be a circle with an image on top of it. So it's going to be a circle dot foreground color is dot white dot frame. It's going to be 56 by 56. And then we're going to say dot shadow. All we want is a radius, so just say shadow radius is 4. Okay, and guys, let's actually go ahead and get the dark mode going on now. So just go up to the top. Sorry for jumping around a little bit, but on your content view on the VStack right below ignore safe area, you can just say preferred color scheme and say dot dark. So go ahead and resume that, and everything should transition to dark mode, right? So now we're just going to want to change some of the foreground colors on, like for this image, change the foreground color to white. Right, so that's looking a little bit better. And I just like the look of this dark mode. I think it looks pretty cool. So anyway, let's keep going with this menu icon. So we have our circle, right? Now in below that, we're going to create this image. So it's going to be system name, and it's going to be plus.circle.fill, and then we're going to say .resizable, .aspect ratio, content mode is .fit. Just make sure it's just use the content mode there. Frame, width and height of 50. Delete the alignment property. Foreground color. It's gonna be color. Open parentheses dot system blue. And once again, you guys can just make that whatever color you want. So let's see. And then, guys, I'm gonna give this an offset of -44. So I'm gonna say dot offset y -44. So that's how we're gonna sort of move that guy up, right? By 44 pixels to in our tab bar. So now we're just gonna go into our HStack and replace this guy with our custom tab, or what did we call this? Tab menu icon. Okay. So go ahead, tab menu icon, and let's see if that's shown up. So that looks really good right there, right? Awesome. So guys, you notice that this does have some other functionality. So let's go over how to implement some of that right now. Right? I just want to get that sort of rotational effect happening, and we'll go and introduce this pop-up menu in a little bit. I have to add a tap gesture to this. So go to this guy here and say .on tap gesture. And then we're going to say with animation. And we're going to create a property up at the top, guys, for showing and hiding our menu. So go up at the top of your content view and say @state private var show menu equals false. And this is what we're going to use to toggle this menu in and out of our view. So really quickly, now you could just go down here and say show menu .toggle, and so every time we press this, it's going to toggle that show menu property. So now we actually have to do some stuff with this show menu property, right? So just go back down to the bottom, guys, with our tab menu icon, and let's see, what do we want to do? We want to introduce a binding variable. and it's going to be a Boolean. And now we're going to add a rotation effect to this guy. So we're going to say dot rotation effect. Oops, yeah. Why aren't you showing up? There we go. Rotation effect, and we're going to pass in an angle with degrees, and we're going to say show menu, yes. Let's see, 45, no, 0, right? So now when we create this guy, we actually have to pass in that property. So I go ahead and pass in $ show menu, and let's hit resume. And then I'm going to want us to go ahead and tap this guy. Right, so you guys can see that it rotates our plus image by 45 degrees and sort of turns it into an X, right? So that's pretty cool. So it's going to be something similar to this, where it rotates. And in the completed project, guys, I actually did a 90-degree rotation and changed the image, but this is another solution for that, where you just do that and it turns into an X to indicate to the user that, hey, tapping on this again will close out the menu. So if you guys wanted to do it the other way, you could just change this to 90, and then we'll change our image name here. So we could say show menu, yes, and it's going to be xmark.circle.fill, no, plus.circle.fill. So now if I click on this guy, whoa, show menu, yes, xmark.circle.fill. There we go. Right, so now you guys can see that sort of rotational effect happening there. It's a little bit different. So I'll leave it up to you guys with whichever one you want to use, right? Anyway, let's keep going. So that's looking pretty good, guys. Now I want us to go over how to actually link a view to each one of these menu items. So we're going to be creating something called a view router. I am going to create a new file for this. So just go out and create a new file. We're going to call this view router. So before we actually create the view router, guys, I want us to create sort of a view model for our tab bar. So you guys can see back in our content view, we're sort of just passing in these like strings for the image names. I want us to create sort of a more concrete structure that's going to allow you to have a more scalable and maintainable solution here, right? So we're going to see what I mean by that right now. So let's just go back to this view router class, and actually we're going to create an enum called like tab bar view model. And it's going to be an integer enum, and it's going to conform to this case iterable protocol. So basically, guys, you're going to use this enum to create all the different tab items that you want. So what we're going to be able to do is say case home, case search, case notifications, and case account, right? So just go ahead, type out all these cases, and then we're going to have some computed properties that give us back some information based on whatever option we're looking at. So for example, I'm going to want something like an image name, right? So I know that, let me delete this guy, that when I'm on the home option, it'll give me back this house guy. When I'm on search, it'll give me back the magnifying glass, so on and so forth. And then this is related to the view router, okay? We're also going to have a view property that links a view to each option that we have here. Right, so go ahead and just type this stuff out, guys. I copy and pasted it just to save us some time because this video is getting kind of long. And we still got to do the pop-up menu and stuff like that. So import SwiftUI up at the top, okay? And basically, guys, what these computed properties are going to help us do is say that, hey, when we're on the home case or option, I want this home view to come back to me. When we're on search, give me back this search view. Obviously, right now, they're just text views. You guys could replace this with actual views, like a home view or a search view or whatever you have. And this is how we're going to link each view or each option to a particular view, okay? So now, with that being done, we can actually go ahead and create this view router. It's going to be an observable object, and we're going to just have this published property. Published var current item, and it's going to be of tab bar view model, and it's going to equal home. And then we're going to have another computed property for var view, and we're just going to say return current item dot view. Okay, so we're going to see how this works in just a second, guys. Let's go ahead and see how. Oh, we need to say some view return current item dot view. Okay, so this is going to be our view router and tab bar view model. So now let's go back to our content view and see how we're actually going to use this. So to start, let's go ahead and go back down to this tab icon view that we have and replace this image name with a view model. So we're going to say view model, tab bar view model. And here we're going to replace this image name with a view model, view model dot image name. Okay. So basically now this tab icon is going to ask us for a specific option back from this tab bar view model: home, search, notifications, account. So let's go back here and say, just delete this and then go ahead and say tab icon, open up the parentheses. It's going to ask you for a view model now, and now you can say just dot home, okay? And then it's going to configure based on whatever option we have. So let's just go ahead and copy and paste this a couple times. All right, so we can say dot search, dot notifications, and dot account. Right, so guys, what this is going to allow you to do is just pass in an option, and then it's going to whatever option we pass in, say it's account, it's going to give us back the image name that's linked to the account option, which in this case would be person.fill. Okay, or if it was home, it's going to be house.fill, so on and so forth. So now if I resume my code here, or my preview, we should notice all of the correct sort of tab bar items down at the bottom there. So let me just resume that. We're going to let it do its thing. And now we're going to go over how to actually change our view there. Okay, guys, so we're going to add another property here, actually. We're going to say at observed object var router is going to be of that view router type right there. So now each option is going to require that we pass in a router, okay? So let's actually go ahead and create that router up at the top. We're going to say at observed object var router is our view router, and we can initialize it here, and then we can just pass this along to each one of our options. So here we can just say router, and just copy and paste this and pass it into each one of our options there. Okay, so now instead of just having change view, we're going to say router dot current item equals view model. Okay, so here, guys, in your preview, you can just pass in, you know, a view router. All right, so let's just go ahead and build this. Make sure we don't have any errors, and we should be good to go. Oh, we do have an error. Let's see what it is. Oh, we need to say equals. All right, that was my mistake. So now let's just hit resume on this guy, and we should see that every time we click a new tab icon, that it shows us a different view now. So instead of having this text hello world, we're going to say router.view. Okay, so now we can see that it says home on the home view, search when I click search, notifications there, and profile there. So that's looking really, really good. So let's just go over really quickly how that works, right? So in the view, we're actually getting the view back from this view router now, right? And every time we create a tab icon, we pass in that instance of the view router that we created, and it's an observed object. So now we notice that back here we have a published property, and it's this current item guy. So every time we click a new item, we set this current item property to the item that we clicked on. So when I click search, it sets this current item property to .search, right? And then when we go and ask this view model for the view, it gives us back the current item.view, which would be, okay, it's like, hey, now we're at the search option, so give me back the search view, okay? Then if I click on notifications, sort of the flow that happens one more time, it sets current item to dot notifications. And then when we ask for this view back in the content view, it's going to say, hey, give me the current item dot view. Okay, well, what is that? It says, hey, we're on the notifications case now, so go ahead and give me back this notifications view, right? So that's how we create our own custom view router, right? So this is in the content view, this is where we get access to that router or the current view that we need back. And because it's a published property and it's an observed object and an observable view model and all that stuff, every time that published property changes, it reconfigures the view with the correct information. So I'm not going to go too much more into that, guys. If you don't understand the concept of published properties and observable objects and stuff like that, I recommend looking up some tutorials on that with SwiftUI. It's just basic SwiftUI interaction between views. It's a similar concept with this binding variable. Not really going to go into too much detail with that. So the last thing we need to do, guys, is create this pop-up menu, and that's what we're going to be doing for the rest of the video, so get excited for that. Let's go ahead and create a new file for that now. So we're going to go ahead here and create a SwiftUI view, and it's going to be called pop-up menu. Okay, so let's actually create these menu items first, guys, and then we'll go over how to implement a menu item into our pop-up menu. So let's go ahead and create a struct for a menu item. It's going to be a view, and it's going to be very, very similar to what we have with this menu pop-up menu icon here. So we could go back to our content view and just grab this code from our tab menu icon. So just grab everything that's inside of that ZStack, go back to pop-up menu, and we could paste that in there, or we need to say var body some view, and then paste that in there. We got to delete some things really fast. So we don't need a rotational effect. We don't have this show menu property. We could just make it something like bookmark.fill for now. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Now, guys, we do notice that there's text beneath that. So let's just go ahead and right click or command click on that ZStack. You're going to hit embed in VStack. And below the VStack, you're going to just add in a text property. So it's just going to say like save, dot foreground color, dot white, dot font, and it's going to be dot footnote. And on your VStack, we're going to say alignment dot center spacing is 12. Okay, so this is just going to be like a what's it called? Like a test, like sort of placeholder menu item right there. We're going to create a view model for our menu as well, guys, so that we could pass in different options. It's going to be very similar to what we did with our tab bar view model. But anyway, let's keep going with this pop-up menu, okay? So we're just going to be an HStack, guys. So we're going to say HStack, and it's going to have, let's see, menu item. And we're just going to copy and paste this a couple times. And we're going to put a spacer before and after. So let's just go ahead and resume the preview there. And on this HStack, guys, to get this sort of cool animation effect, we are going to say transition is going to be scale. So say dot transition and say scale. This obviously does not look very good right now. So let's go ahead and see what we have to do to fix it. So foreground color is actually going to be white. Frame is 50 by 50. Okay, actually, guys, go up here and create a dimension property, CG float, and it's going to equal 48. And then everywhere we have this stuff, we're just going to pass, or those hard-coded values, just pass in this dimension. Okay, the foreground color of the circle is going to be .system blue. So it's just a little bit different than our icon down here. So now go ahead and hit resume. That should be fine. Okay, we need to wrap this in a color dot system blue, resume, and our menu items should now be looking pretty good. Okay, aspect. Okay, also guys, give this some padding. So say dot padding and give it a padding of 12. Right, so that looks much, much better now, right? And then we can't see our text right now because it's white and this is on a white screen, but you guys can see that it's showing up there. So, okay, we have a basic pop-up menu now. So what we want to do is go back to our content view, guys, and see how we're actually going to implement this guy. When we click on that show menu guy. So back in our content view, we're going to want to wrap this whole VStack inside of a ZStack now, right? Because basically what we're going to do, guys, is put this on top of everything, right? So when you have things stacked on top of each other, you want to use a ZStack, okay? So just go ahead and right click or command click, sorry, on that guy and say embed in ZStack and open up your parentheses there, and for your alignment, you're going to say dot bottom. Okay guys, so before we do anything with the ZStack, I want us to just go down to the bottom where we have these two modifiers, ignore safe area and preferred color scheme. We're gonna cut them like with Command X and then place them below our ZStack, okay? Or as modifiers on the ZStack instead of the VStack. And now what we're gonna do is actually go and add the menu in. So all we have to do is go below this VStack, stay within the VStack bracket, and say if show menu, just say pop-up menu, and we're gonna give it a padding bottom, of 144. Okay, so now guys, if I go ahead and hit this guy, we can see that my menu shows up really nicely and that it scales. So on the simulator, it's just gonna be a little buggy. It's not gonna have the scale animation when it launches, but when you hide it, you can see that scale animation happening where it sort of just shrinks everything back down, which is really cool. But you guys notice that we want some more spacing between our items here. So let's just go back to our pop-up menu. And on this HStack, guys, you could just add a spacing parameter of like 24 or something. And let's actually go ahead and run this on our simulator really quickly just to see if everything is working properly. So we notice that our tab bar is working nicely. And then if I hit this guy right here, we notice that our pop-up menu is actually showing up very nicely there as well. All right, guys, and for these menu items, you're going to want to create a view model for that as well so that you can customize your options and actually pass in different data for each menu item option. So let's go ahead and do that really quickly. It's actually going to be really similar to this tab bar view model enumeration that we created. So go ahead and just copy and paste this, guys. And we can just put it in the same file for now. Like I said, ideally, you would create a separate view model file for this guy. But we're just going to paste this information in here. We're going to call this menu view model. And we're going to create some custom cases here. So let's see. I'm going to have share, save, add, and download. And then I'm just going to copy and paste this image name property. And once again, guys, the purpose of this is to get back a unique image for each case that we have. So you guys can just pause the video and type this stuff out. And then instead of linking each one to a view, we're just going to have like a title property. That's how we get this text down here. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste that in there. You can call it description, title, whatever you want. So this will just give us back a title for each option that we're going to see at the bottom there. So now what we want to do, guys, is in this menu item, we want to require that we pass in a view model for it. So we're going to say let view model menu view model, and then instead of this static bookmark.fill, we're just going to pass in view model.image name, and this text is going to be view model.title. And once again, this is in your menu item, so that's for each one of these guys. We're now configuring it with a view model so that it gives us back the data based on whatever case we're looking at. So this is actually a really cool trick we're going to go over how to do to implement these items in like a really swifty sort of way or efficient way. So we're actually going to use a for each loop, guys. So I'm going to hit enter on this guy, and basically what I want to do is loop through each one of my different cases, right? That's what we get with this case iterable protocol. it allows us to treat all of these cases as if it were an array. So we can loop through them. So we can say menu view model.all cases, and then we are going to want to say enter on that content guy, and we're just going to pass it, like use an item in that block. Also, guys, put a comma after that all cases and say id \self. And now in this guy, we're going to create a menu item, and we're going to pass in that item that we get access to in this block right here. So now if I hit resume, guys, or you know what, let's just go ahead and run the project. You guys will notice that my menu is now customized, right? So now we have different images and different text down at the bottom for each one. You can adjust the spacing to maybe be like 32. And guys, a really nice, you know, the purpose of doing this way is, like I said, it makes this solution much more scalable. So like if I want to remove this download option, I just comment that out, and we'll see that we're going to get some errors in the enum, right? So I just remove these as well, and I just have to change information in one place, and that will automatically take effect in the finished product here, right? So all we have to do is modify this view model, and everything will just fix itself accordingly, right? In that pop-up menu there. So this is a much more scalable solution for your pop-up menu here. Once again, if I just add download back, it's going to give me an error in all the places I need to add the information for that download case. And now I can just run that again, and that download option will show up again. And you guys can obviously just customize these options to however you want them to look or function. So that is going to wrap it up for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. And we implemented a fully customized tab bar with some awesome extra functionality here, guys, with this awesome pop-up menu. And we didn't use a single native SwiftUI tab view component. This is 100% custom implementation, and it's a pretty awesome, scalable, efficient solution, right? Where we can customize our options in our tab or our pop-up menu very easily, right? So this is an awesome solution that we came up with here. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Once again, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out my online courses that I talked about in the beginning of the video, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.